You are here now. The foundation is built, and you see a scalable opportunity. Describe the things that you're looking at now in terms of why this is scalable and how do you do it?
So I think the processes have been proven, the workflows have been proven. I think at the core and essence of our company is integrity and the skills of our people and the team that you just mentioned. We've got every process and facet of the model, completely crystallized and it's fully baked. So with that now, we have the ability to go in and adjust as needed based on different business propositions that come our way. Once you've got your foundational cost structure together, every opportunity that provides incremental gross margin dollars are incremental gross margin dollars if I'm not going to add to the cost line. If the cost structure is set, then incremental margin is incremental margin, and it helps the growth of the business.
Today we have a special opportunity. We brought on two gentlemen to help us kind of unpack this problem that I think all of us entrepreneurs out there have, or a dilemma, if you will, is, how do you know when you're ready to scale? I mean, the first thing we got to do is build a foundation that's strong enough to withstand being able to grow. And then when do you know that it's time to really pour some fuel on the fire? Today, we are going to be tackling that problem, that dilemma. We've got two guys that are in the process of doing it. Javeed Siddiqui, he's the Chief Medical Officer of Telemed 2U. And we also have Patel. He is the brand new CEO coming in to help figure out how to throw fuel on that fire, how to commit these resources, and how to scale this company. How you guys doing today?
Doing very well, Mark. Doing very well. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so that's AJ. You are new in town, moving here from Austin, or in the process of getting your feet on the ground here from Austin. Yeah. And then Javeed's been on the show before. And in full disclosure, I recently invested into this company. And so I'm super excited to hear what's going on and to learn about it. So maybe we can start with you, AJ. This opportunity, you jumped on it. Yeah. Why?
That's a great question, Mark. So healthcare in the U.S., as you know, is a huge problem and an opportunity for us to solve and help figure out. I think the national spend on healthcare is amongst the highest, or is the highest in all of the industrial world, and yet the outcomes we're getting from that spend isn't nearly producing the longevity in life and reduced child mortalities and the other measures that some of the other nations are seeing on their spend. So really, for me to have the opportunity to be a part of an emerging healthcare platform or technology, if you will, to really help deliver care at the right time, the right place, for the right end consumer, if you will, and really help improve outcomes, lower costs for the payers, was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up on.
So you are here to scale the company, to grow it. Javeed, you and your team have been building the foundation. Let's talk about what it takes to build a foundation, to build this foundation that is Telemed 2U, or any company. Aren't there some general principles associated with building a great company and having a great foundation?
Absolutely, Mark, and thanks again for having me back. After the last one, I wasn't too sure, so it's great. Great to be invited back. I think you're very right, but I also have to say, it's a little bit different in healthcare, right? Healthcare is just a unique animal, right? And the way we approach it. But, as we all know, there's a lot of principles that apply to general business as it is, right? And I think one of the things is, are you looking to build a better mousetrap, or is there a specific problem that you're looking to solve, right? And the way I came at this is really out of necessity, right? Back in 2000 and 2001, I know most of your audience probably wasn't even born back then, but I had patients that were traveling 3 to 4 hours each way to see me for a 20-minute office visit, right?
Okay.
And I just looked at that and said, this is not sustainable, right? Because I said, am I going to get in a car and drive 3 to 4 hours to see someone for 15, 20 minutes? It just didn't make any sense to me, right? And so out of that need And out of that realization came my desire to get involved in telemedicine, to get involved in technologies to better look at healthcare, right? And so it was a real problem to solve. And I think as I've been on this journey, I think when you have a distinct problem that you're trying to solve and that problem resonates with a lot of people, I think that helps, establish that really good foundation.
Yeah, you need a problem that's big enough to solve that can actually create a business to keep it sustainable.
Right.
So you've solved that problem, right? Is that problem solved now? Have you checked that box? Have you checked that box in terms of your ability to have a product that solves that problem?
I think yes, and it constantly needs refinement and development, right?
Okay.
We have developed some solutions that definitely help solve that initial problem, right?
Okay.
But one of the biggest problems is healthcare, right? Healthcare by itself doesn't move very quickly, right? And I think this is contradictory to what most Americans believe about the healthcare system, right? They believe that the U.S. healthcare system is on the cutting edge. It's the fastest. It's the best. And everyone realizes we dedicate a lot of money to it, right? But if you look at, the law of diffusion of innovation, right? A lot of people talk about it, Everett Rogers' 1962 philosophy on how things change, right? You realize that unfortunately healthcare is not only a laggard, but they're a late laggard, right? We're really good at developing tests to diagnose you, get a 3 Tesla MRI, or be able to draw some blood from you and tell you you're sick, right? We're really good at that. But when it comes to actually delivering the service, we're not very good at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anyone who's had interaction with the healthcare system realizes this is antiquated, this is archaic, this is frustrating. So that part of the problem we haven't solved yet.
Okay, well, I mean, that problem maybe will never completely go away. Well, that's a little too pessimistic, I suppose. But we're always going to be improving healthcare. Your product makes healthcare accessible to more people without the inconvenience of the travel time and being able to put a specialist in the lives. You talked about this a little bit, AJ, that the doc here saved somebody down in the lobby before you guys came up.
Absolutely true, 100%.
Saving lives,
Yep.
right? Yep. So, but in terms of the foundation, so thinking about our audience, let's say there's somebody out there that's looking to grow a business in the medical arena. You need to have a product, and it needs to be continually refining. But what other components of this foundation? Do you need a team? Yeah. Are there other sort of like foundational pillars that are necessary before you start hiring salespeople or, dumping a bunch of money on marketing?
Great question, Mark. I think the first thing with whether it's a healthcare product or another type of service or product is you've got to determine whether that solution or service or product that you're offering is truly solving a need that exists out there in the marketplace, right? And then is there enough of that need in the marketplace for that product or solution to be viable to become a business that can stand on its own 2 feet? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing, right? And then once you've got that,
and you guys do you have that now, or how close are you to that?
I think we're very confident that we have that,
okay.
and not just because I'm a part of that team, but based on the outcomes that have been delivered well before.
Was that part of your decision to come aboard? So you're the new CEO. Yeah. Is part of the decision as you look at a company like this? Our mutual buddy Kevin Nagel was part of who brought me in as an investor, and part of the recruitment effort along with Lokesh and so on. But I mean, is that part of what you look at? You're coming in, look, does this thing have the right kind of potential to grow so that it's worth you invest? You made a big change in your life.
100%, and I think the answer is right there. $3 trillion is what the U.S. spends on healthcare, right? And a very minute fraction of that is spent on virtual care today. And the way I look at it is I come from a background in the pharmacy industry, and one of the things that pharmacists most touted about themselves is they were the most accessible healthcare professional out there for the community, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think of telemedicine and what it's changing is really that it's increasing access to the right type of care, whether it's specialist care like we provide or other facets of care that could be available. So when you increase access to care and get that care to the people that need it when they need it, positive things happen downstream. You are able to mitigate disastrous outcomes well in advance. So
Yeah.
I think you combine the $3 trillion opportunity with the ability to increase access to care. And even if we were to downstream capture a very, very minute percentage of that $3 trillion, we would become an extremely large enterprise.
Well, part of the founding, the foundation is having the right leadership team. If I invest, I mean, that's part of why I invested is they were bringing on this new CEO, and you want to make sure you have somebody who can grow the company. So you got is the leadership team together now? Are there still gaps that you're trying to fill in order to get that part of the foundation done right?
Great question. Right. So I think Dr. Siddiqui, having been a co-founder, and he's an integral piece of the puzzle because he's our clinician du jour, day in and day out. He's got the clinical skill set, but through his background, he's also got great relationships in the marketplace, and he serves a vital role in our sales cycle as well. And so clearly, I think I've got the right partner in crime to help us develop the rest of the team, and Javeed plays an instrumental role in working closely with myself and our sales director in really helping identify opportunities, but then also helping create solutions that are tailored to that specific organization or health system as we look for opportunities.
So you got a big problem, big market opportunity. You've got the team in place. You've got the sales process. A lot of times people, when to bet the farm, right? These are kind of interesting questions. Okay, so I got something here, when to go all in. And what I see sometimes is people sort of they allocate the resources in the wrong areas, right? They hire 10 salespeople and the product sucks, right? And you're not ready. So how to go about making sure the product is good enough to take it to market in a large way, how much of the resources to be put on growth. I'm still trying to determine, how are you there? Do you have secret sauce yet where you're like, wait, we've got something, this works, rinse and repeat, go, go, go. Are you there yet? If not, what's missing? Is there an acquisition? Is there another piece of the puzzle that you need before you, bet the farm on this effort?
No, I think we're definitely there. I don't think there's no question about that, right? I mean, there's always refinement, but I think we're there. We've got the sauce. We
go.
Yeah,
it's go time now. So
right.
The foundation is built.
Right.
Any lessons? So you helped build this foundation. Yeah. Any lessons learned? And how long you guys been in business now?
Absolutely. So we started in 2011.
Okay.
Right?
So 2011 to now, that's 8 or 9 years
right.
ago. What lessons did you learn in that first 8 or 9 years?
Sure. Absolutely. I think one of the most important things is, and I think I can speak for, especially from the healthcare side, if you're a clinician, you're not going to be successful unless you have good numbers people with you, right? I mean, no matter what, I think most people in healthcare, they can't get enough support on the number side of it, right? You really need, in order to be able to make that decision, when to pull the trigger, how to allocate resources, right? You got to have someone who really can help you with that can bounce those ideas off of you. And no matter how good you feel, we're ready to go here. Remember, if the numbers don't match, the numbers don't match, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a tough lesson for most clinicians and most people in healthcare to understand and to realize.
So when did you realize that I got to have a numbers person or the numbers expertise? Was that is that part of why we brought on the new CEO, or is there a CFO? How did you fix that?
Right. I think all of the above. I think, when I started this company with my business partner, Steve Renard, back in 2011, we, from day one, right, that was one of the reasons why we became partners, was because he was the business, the numbers guy, right, and I was the clinician, right? So we always knew that was going to be the case. But as we evolved, as we grew, things happened, things changed, and now we were finally getting ready for, to use an overutilized term, we were finally ready for that hockey stick moment, right? And we were able to enter into this phase of capital, raising capital to refinance the company, take the company in new directions. And I think when you're looking to that next growth, you go, okay, we've come this far. Now, who's going to help us get to the next tier?
What's Steve's role in the company today?
Well, Steve, due to some very personal reasons, has left the company.
Oh, he has left the company. Okay, so AJ's taking
Correct.
Steve's spot. Okay, but now we're ready, right? Is that right? Now we're ready. We've learned some lessons. Got some any other lessons that you learned?
Yeah, I think that it's having people who are going to have a different skill set and be very, very honest with you, right? Mm-hmm. I find some of the best decisions we made is where there were people who said, I don't agree with that. I think we should rethink this, right? Not necessarily putting a barrier to it, but just let's make sure we're doing the right thing. Not just a collective, yay, okay, we all drank the Kool-Aid, we're all running in, to the burning building, right? It's let's have, individuals that can give you different pause for thought, but have a rationale for that. Not just, oh, my gut's telling me, but saying, okay, you do realize if we put these marketing dollars towards here, we're not going to be able to support this other, and we're all good with that. Let's make sure we've reached that decision.
It's interesting how you guys are in a very technical arena, way over my head. We were talking about meningitis before the show, and these things are very, saving people's lives can be a complicated endeavor, but building a business, some of the most basic things are teamwork, having the right people in the right spot on the bus, and knowing how to allocate the resources. These are things that I think sometimes we lose sight of, and I see this in my investing, is we sort of get caught up in the cool products, the gadgets, the solution, and less in how to run a business or how to build a great team. So enter AJ Patel. AJ, you are here now. The foundation is built. And you see a scalable opportunity. Describe the things that you're looking at now in terms of why this is scalable and how do you do it?
Great question. So I think the processes have been proven, the workflows have been proven. I think at the core and essence of our company is integrity and the skills of our people and the team that you just mentioned. We've got top talent in helping us with recruiting, credentialing, clinic operations, physician relationships, right? So with the model that we service in, we have contract physicians, upwards of close to 100 contract physicians, and managing relationships externally with individuals that are instrumental in driving the essence of your business. We've got contracting, we've got billing, we've got every process and facet of the model, completely crystallized and it's fully baked. Mm-hmm. So with that now, we have the ability to go in and adjust as needed based on different business propositions that come our way. Because one thing about healthcare, and as Javeed mentioned, healthcare is extremely complex, and it's made even more complex with rules and regulations that vary state to state, health plan to health plan. It's not necessarily a model in which every sales cycle is going to look similar to the previous one. There is a lot of customization. The customers and clients' needs change radically from one opportunity to the other. But we've got enough experience under our belt to where we have the ability to go in, customize a solution, identify exactly what the needs are and how we would be able to service those needs, and make adjustments along the way. And then the most critical part is what Javeed just mentioned, is with healthcare to remain viable and be able to be around for long enough to deliver that care. You got to make sure it's financially viable. Right. And because of the complexity that I just mentioned a moment ago, we really have to do some deep dives into the financial model as we vet any and every opportunity that comes our way.
So how about the use of data? So you have all these clients now. There's some, I'm sure, that are more high growth than others, might be higher margin than others. How do you decide which are the best activities to focus on? Where does that fit?
Yeah, so I think it's a two-pronged answer. So with the essence of scaling, once you've got your foundational cost structure together, every opportunity that provides incremental gross margin dollars are incremental gross margin dollars if I'm not going to add to the cost line. So for two reasons, we don't necessarily discriminate between opportunities based on which one's going to provide a higher margin. If we're ultimately helping increase access to care,
okay,
and helping patients,
you're winning if you're increasing access
if we're increasing access, we may give up margin on the front end, but maybe there will be other opportunities to broaden our service offerings once we're providing those initial services. But most importantly, if the cost structure is set, then incremental margin is incremental margin, and it helps the growth of the business.
So to grow the business from here, where you can acquire potentially, diversify your product offering, or I guess just put money and effort into, you could hire an extra salesperson or something like that, or extra marketing dollar on your existing stuff. Yeah. Where are you today on those kind of decisions?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. I think one of the key things we're now currently ready to move forward with is having full-time physicians that work for Telemed to You, specialists that work for Telemed to You, and with that we will be set to really pursue opportunities that previously the model didn't allow for, and back to the point about increasing care and gaining new clients that we weren't able to pursue. So that's one place, and that's organic growth.
I have to imagine too, if you're adding internal personnel, that takes some of the friction away from the customer experience, right? Because you can provide a more steady service to the customer. Is that right?
100%.
The patient.
I think the essence of the quality of care is really what's going to create the brand of Telemed to You, and having in-house physicians that are there day in and day out. Not we have a great team today. Our contract physicians, and I'll let Javeed speak to it, but they're hand selected, and they're the best of the best.
So your outsourced physicians are great, but your internal physicians, that's going to improve. I can see it improving the responsiveness and things like that. But the people you're bringing in are of a caliber that is more likely to help the patient.
Well, I think it's not like our contract physicians aren't doing that. I think it just gives us more degrees of freedom, right? And I think that's exactly the kinds of business decisions that once you've got a foundation. So we built a foundation with contract physicians. Now the reason why we're able to scale is that through great investors such as yourself, we now have the capital to be able to say, we're going to hire full-time physicians to help. Now, what does that do? It changes a lot of different dynamics. It changes some of the different accounts that we can bring on. It definitely changes our margins, right? It definitely changes the experience that some of our clients have. So it really, it's that constant refinement and being able to offer more of a complete service.
It improves margins because you've got the in-house person?
Exactly.
Okay, but
exactly.
it's a more of a higher fixed cost because you have the fixed cost of an employee versus maybe a variable cost of an outsourced partner.
Exactly, but it's also it definitely improves our margins because of all the things you said. But it also helps us in the fact that we now have when you're a contract, you can pick and choose what you're doing. Right.
Okay.
And you can say, well, I kind of want to do that. I kind of don't want to do that.
Oh, here's a tough case.
Right.
We don't want this one.
No, or for physicians, it's more like, Friday afternoons, no.
Okay.
I don't think I really want to be doing clinic Friday afternoons, right?
Yeah.
Or Monday mornings, I kind of would like to, not start at 8 a.m. I like to really start at 11. And when you're working with contractors, you kind of go, okay, well, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Now that when we have full-time physicians, we have a little bit more say. We're going to start our workday here. This is what's included. Here's what it is. So it gives us, like I said, more degrees of freedom.
Do your employees, your in-house physicians, are they operating in a centralized kind of environment, or are they out and around the country?
Yes. So we definitely have physicians that are located in our Roseville offices and are there and are part of the ethos and part of building our culture. But, we're looking outside of California, right? We're already providing in 5 states outside of California. And part of it is setting up our employed physicians in those markets as well. And so it's a combination of both.
Okay. So scaling the business now, one of the thoughts is acquisition. Why, you can build or buy, right? This is kind of one of the classic decisions that we have to make. You said all of the above, AJ. Are you, why acquire? How do you go in the rationale of build or buy?
Right. So I think it's twofold, right? So we're a multi-specialty practice today, covering over 20 specialties. Dr. Siddiqui brings an expertise background in infectious disease, and we do a lot of work with critical access hospitals and provide them antimicrobial stewardship as well as consult services. And if you really think about all of that, it's really one vertical within our enterprise, and we have the ability to do that with other areas like endocrinology or psychiatry, and one way to really be able to get there quicker versus building it ground up is to assimilate organizations that specialize in psychiatry or endocrinology. And
if you make an acquisition, are you going to put it under the Telemed to You brand necessarily, or would they operate as a sister company of some kind?
I think that's all TBD, but in terms of where we're at today, I think we'd like to keep everything under the umbrella of Telemed to You.
Okay, so the brand is the Telemed to You brand is strong. It's known. It's something. I mean, I like the name. It sounds great. Yeah. It feels like the type of brand that could be built on. And you came from AJ. You came from Walgreens. You led Walgreens, and so what was your role there, and how does that transition into how does that experience transition into what you can do, what we can do with Telemed to You?
Yeah, I think that's another great question. I've been asked that from some former colleagues as well as family members, et cetera. So I think healthcare is what I've learned in the last 5 months, right? Whether it was delivering pharmaceutical care, immunization services, in-store clinics, those are all types of healthcare services that Walgreens offered, and leading a team of clinicians that were PharmDs and pharmacists versus helping lead a team of specialists, still very similar. I think you're still talking about healthcare. The ultimate end consumer that you're touching is still the same. It's the same patient that goes into those drugstores to pick up their prescriptions with the same opportunities and challenges. Medication non-compliance is a huge problem that has to be solved nationally. So when working through the other side of it with the specialists that are actually prescribing those medications, it's still some of those same synergistic opportunities to help drive patient outcomes by better compliance. From the business side, again, I think healthcare is a complex nut in the sense that the pressures of decreasing cost and operating on reduced margins is no different on this side of the care solution as it was on the pharmaceutical side, and finding ways to continue to deliver quality care at a lower cost basis and survive under compressing margins.
You bet. Well, I have to imagine the type of business that you all have being more virtual, less brick and mortar, less rent, less sort of fixed costs. It does allow you to move into this this new reality that is the compressed margins. You're more prepared to deal with this than somebody who's stuck with all these fixed costs and long-term leases and all that sort of business.
You're absolutely right. I think with your prior question about where would those full-time physicians live, I think that on its own is a telltale where we may be delivering care in real high-cost pockets of the country, but if that endocrinologist, for the lack of a better example, lived in the Midwest, where the current prevailing compensation for a specialist in that market was at a lower price point than, say, the Los Angeles area. It really changes the whole business model in terms of being able to serve the population in Southern Cal with a specialist that may be available at a slightly better price point.
Interesting. I was, for some reason, thinking that a strong target for you would be the rural areas of the world where you got to drive 3 hours to get to the doctor and so on. But I'm hearing, or I'm feeling, that maybe the inner city could be as good an opportunity as in helping people as somebody who's living 3 hours away from a hospital.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
I think one of the things that's been under recognized, and one of the things that we've concentrated on from day one has been the urban underserved, right? And I think as you get into more citywide congestion, that really becomes a problem, right? So we have an endocrinologist who had an office in downtown San Francisco, okay? It took her, and she lived in the suburbs, it took her an hour and a half just to get to her office. Many times she would say, I'm exhausted by the time I get there. Now I've got a full load of patients to see, work 10, 12-hour day, and then I got to commute an hour and a half back, right? So at the very least, she's putting in 8 to 10 hours a week with zero compensation and wear and tear on her body. And her patients are doing exactly the same. So we now have a solution that, one, eliminates that 8 to 10 hours of commuting, wear and tear on her body, wear and tear on her psyche, and the patients as well. So we're still able to serve those patients in downtown San Francisco. She's still able to take care of those patients, but yet in a far more efficient way through telemedicine.
Well, okay, so thinking about the next steps, looking a hill over, 2 hills over. So you've got the product, you've got this base foundation, systems are may make an acquisition, going to continue to scale. I mean, at some point, growth, especially when you're going to do an acquisition, these things require more and more capital. You've raised your money. What do you anticipate in terms of another raise? Is that on the radar today, or is that put off for 12, 18, 24 months or indefinitely?
Yeah, well, Mark, I think it depends on the type of opportunity that presents itself. Our initial goals are to try to pursue opportunities that wouldn't require an immediate raise. We'd like to defer it as far out as possible, but if the right opportunity presented itself, I think we're willing to go back to the drawing boards. The biggest thing with scaling from here is if we do an acquisition, we would want to make sure it's accretive from day one, right? So since we've really got the foundation and processes in place, it has to be a business or a service offering that really fits well with our model today and becomes accretive from day one, and that would further add to the ability to assimilate more opportunities as they come along.
If you go organic growth from here and don't make any huge moves in terms of acquisitions, I mean, is this a situation where fundraising is on your mind for 12 or 24 months down the road, or will you be able to do it organically and cash flow positive and so on?
Yeah, no, our present vision is to do it organically and be cash flow positive before an additional raise is needed. Assuming that we don't pursue an acquisition or a merger of some sort. The only other factors that could potentially affect cash flow and the need to raise is if we are able to explore other business opportunities with our present clients that would need an infusion of capital to increase the number of providers and any other technological developments that would be needed to deliver the care.
You talked earlier, you spoke of the core values. So you came in, the core values, as a new CEO, do you come in and try to assimilate to the core values that are there? Did you bring new approach, new sense of urgency to this effort?
Yeah. So to answer your question, in a startup environment, your typical 90-day grace period, it's loosely defined. I think the guardrails around the typical corporate standards of taking on a new leadership role and waiting and observing and learning, which I did, but perhaps maybe not the standard 3-month wait. I think we had to make some decisions to make sure that the business was right-sized. We had the right roles in place, and we had to make some changes. We had to add to certain roles, sales specifically, and then we had to look at other ways to do other aspects of the operation, whether it was legal or more admin type functions.
How was that? So you come in and you have to make some changes, or you decide to make some changes. Was that how was that received?
Yeah, no, I think like anything in life, if people understand why and the purpose and the vision and where you're going with it, you'll get the support you need. And I feel like our team totally gets it, and they're 100% behind the mission and where we're trying to go.
So thinking about this, so this is a fast growth opportunity, scalable. Is this something that gets acquired by a large company one day? How do you envision that next chapter when the venture capitalists are paid back and it's on to a new set of owners?
I think we're probably the right fit for a multitude of different opportunities, right? I think any major health plan could benefit tremendously. Large employer groups, if you're don't want to name companies, but if you employ 500,000 or more people on a national basis, would be
you might have you want your in-house medical team. Right?
Absolutely, right. We would be a great fit for some of the larger telemedicine providers, publicly traded company, right? We could be a great fit for a health system, right? So I think the beautiful part is this piece of the puzzle could fit in an array of different spots. And really bring value.
Who do you view as your competition today? Is there somebody out there you're like, we have to get ahead of them, or are you going into a zone where nobody else is really playing?
I think there's always competition, right? And I think it'd be foolish to say that there wasn't, right? And yes, we definitely do have competitors, right? And I think that we can view competitors in two different ways. I just choose to view competitors very much as, listen, we're all here, we're all trying to move this concept of virtual healthcare, right? You're doing what you're doing, we're doing what we're doing, but at the end of the day, we're all moving the needle that virtual healthcare is better adopted, right? And that's the way I view it. And I also think competition is really great because if you're doing something better than me, I'm not doing something right, and I need to learn what you're doing, right? So to me, it's very much positive. Yes, we have competitors, but I think that we have a real collegial relationship with them. And there have been times when we've reached out to them and said, hey, this book of business, this offer someone came to us really doesn't fit us very well. Maybe it'll fit you. And it's been vice versa because, again, we've taken on this not antagonistic role, but very much of we're all helping to move the needle of virtual healthcare.
Do you feel like the other telemedicine companies are the big competition, or is it the traditional healthcare providers?
It's a little bit of both. I mean,
Okay.
there's definitely people in doing similar things that we are, other telemedicine companies, but some of the large hospital systems are doing it. Most of the time, they're doing it to serve their own internal needs, all right? And so there's a little bit of both. And so, but, we know each other. We get along very well. I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. Most of the people who are heading them are colleagues that I've worked with at some point in time in my life. So it's been a really nice way of watching other people grow, but there's definitely a healthy competition.
Yeah, so you talked earlier about, AJ, you talked about salespeople and the sales process a little bit. Is there a sales culture at Telemed to you? I know there's a culture toward helping the patient, saving lives, making people more healthy, the client experience, but putting on that sales hat that maybe you're both great communicators, but in order to really skyrocket sales, somebody needs to go make the molecules move in terms of driving revenue. Was that something that you brought in? Did that already exist? And describe the culture in terms of sales at Telemed.
No, I mean, clearly the sales culture existed because Javeed and team went from zero in revenues to, a pretty nice number when I joined. But no, we've certainly taken that to the next level. I think we've tripled the size of our sales team. We are actively working with marketing consultants. We are designing using CRM and designing ways to really be able to get to our potential end customers in a much quicker, more concise manner. And
Now, CRM, are there special CRMs that are geared toward the medical field, or are you using are you using Salesforce or one of the majors?
yeah, no, we're not using Salesforce. I think we'll probably go there when we get a little bit bigger.
Okay,
But there's
yeah.
others that are very
That are
very functional
almost
for our
free.
needs, almost free and very functional. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. I think we love their product. It's HubSpot.
Oh, HubSpot, yeah.
HubSpot works very well for companies our size, or even slightly larger companies.
bet.
And very functional, and we've got so that was an implementation we did not too long ago, and it's really helping make our team.
And when you target a customer in telemedicine, are you targeting the patient? Is that who you're? I mean, HubSpot seems like one of those marketing CRMs that is very good for hitting a lot of people hard. So a little less digital marketing, things like that.
Right. So primarily at this point, HubSpot for business-to-business marketing, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
kind of the health systems, the hospitals, the correctional facilities, community health centers, the entities that make up a lion's share of our customer base. I think there's a stage in our growth where we will have just as much focus going directly to the consumer, but that's still in the makings.
Yes, for sure. Okay, just closing thoughts. So we've kind of bounced around a little bit about the foundation, building it, growing. How do you scale? What are some key, points that you got to hit when you're scaling, and then ultimately potential exit? Maybe to each of you, just to sort of sum up some thoughts on how to kind of take this thing from start to finish, and some of the things that maybe an entrepreneur out there who's thinking, I need to grow my business. How do I learn from the folks over at Telemed to you? What lessons can we learn from your experience?
So the first thing for me is, as we look to scale, which I think we've been scaling, but to get into hyperscale mode, we need to make sure that the essence of what we provide, the service and the care, is not compromised in any way. So we have to be confident that as we serve twice as many or 4 times as many end customers, we don't compromise the quality of care. Because once that's compromised, it's extremely hard to recover. So I think that for me is the ultimate gold standard to stick by, and then I think comes cash flow and team morale and all those other
To
factors.
grow without compromising the quality of the care, and that's I guess that's. That involves people's health. The most important thing that I know it's important that we don't compromise the customer experience at Starbucks, but when we're talking about somebody being sick or having a real health issue, that's it's life altering. So, any other closing thoughts from you, Javeed?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I would give, the best advice I could give is, you got to have a team, right? You had the vision, you identified the problem, you came up with the solution. But if you really want to scale, you can't do it alone. And you got to have faith and trust in people. And when you've got to be able to pass the torch to them a little bit and let them run with it. Because without that, you're never going to scale, and you're never going to hit that, that degree of scaling that you want to. So really having a trust in your team and letting them grow to new heights is incredibly important.
Great advice. Work backwards from the customer experience, the health of your patient in your case, and obviously put the right people on the team that can get the job done and maximize the opportunity. I want to thank you guys both for joining us. Javeed Siddiqui, Chief Medical Officer, Telemed to you, along with AJ Patel, leading this company right here in the hometown we love. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us, Mark.
You betcha. Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at Haney Biz, we are always by your side.